Welcome to the next video in our series about the teacher preparation report cards. Now that you've had a chance to see the main features of the report in the previous video, we're now going to look at some specific sections that might be of interest to different users of the report card. In this video, we'll use the report card to answer questions for students considering applying to an educator preparation provider. These can be high school students selecting their college, or students that already have a bachelor's degree that are looking to complete a graduate degree leading to teaching licensure. We'll outline the question of interest and then navigate through the report to relevant sections that can help you answer these questions. Importantly, there are two ways to answer most of the questions that we'll go over today, depending on whether you're interested in a specific education preparation provider or whether you want to know what the top scoring programs in the state are for a certain metric. For instance, you may want to learn about a provider you are considering applying to, or one that is already close by. Later in the video, we'll use the state data download to sort all the programs in the state. Let's look at the first question. What providers are having the best success in having graduates find a teaching job in Tennessee? Within the report card, you can find this information for a specific education preparation provider in the employment domain. First, you choose a certain provider that you're interested in. Next, you click on the link for employment. There are three indicators within this domain, and to find information on the placement rate, you can look at the first indicator, which is called First Year Placement Rate. This tells you how many completers from this education preparation provider were placed in a Tennessee school within 1 year of receiving their initial license. To see more details, you can click on the Show Details section. That has a placement rate shown for only Tennessee residents. If you're living in Tennessee and would like to find a teaching job in the state, this will give you relevant information on what percentage of Tennessee residents end up being placed in Tennessee schools. Now let's look at the second question. What providers are placing candidates in schools that are a good fit for the candidate, meaning that they stay after the first year? Within the report card, you can find this information for a specific education preparation provider in the employment domain. First, you choose a certain provider that you're interested in. Next, you'll again click on the employment link. There are three indicators within this domain, and to find information on retention rate, you can scroll down to the third indicator, which is called Beyond 1 Year Retention Rate. This tells you how many completers from this education preparation provider stayed in the same school beyond their first year. To see more details, you can click on the Show Details section. This has the retention rate broken down by the different programs that the provider offers. Now let's turn to the next question. I want to make sure I am rated well by my supervisor in my future teaching job. What providers are helping students do that? For teachers in Tennessee, supervisors use classroom observations to give teachers feedback on their instruction and to rate the performance of teachers. Within the report card, you can find information on observation scores for a specific education preparation provider in the Provider Impact domain. First, you'll choose the provider that you're interested in. Then, you can click on the link for Provider Impact. There are four indicators within this domain, with the first two indicators displaying how the provider scored on observations. The first indicator tells you what percentage of completers had an overall observation score of 3 or higher, which indicates normal performance, And the second indicator tells you what percentage of completers had an overall observation score of either 4 or 5, which is considered above performance. To see more details, you can click on the Show Details link, which has the observation scores broken down by the different programs that the provider offers. Now let's turn to the fourth question. I'd like to be the best at raising achievement for students. What providers are helping graduates do that? Within this report, you can find this information for a specific education preparation provider in the Provider Impact domain. Again, you'll choose a certain provider that you're interested in. Next, you'll click on the link for Provider Impact. There are 4 indicators within this domain, and the last 2 display how the provider scored on gains in student achievement. This is scored using a measure called TVAS, the Tennessee Value-Added Assessment System, that seeks to measure gains in student achievement while taking into account student scores from previous years. Keep in mind this is only for teachers that are in tested subjects, such as math and English. The first indicator tells you what percentage of completers had TVAS scores of 3 or higher, which is considered average performance. And the second indicator tells you what percentage of completers had an overall TVAS score of either 4 or 5, which is considered above average performance. You can again click on the Show Details link to see how they scored within each of their programs. Let's look at the next question. I'm interested in getting a high demand endorsement like special education, math science, or ESL. What providers have graduates with these endorsements? Let's again start by choosing a provider that you're interested in. While previously we scrolled through the whole list, another way of doing this is by typing in the provider name in the search box. And then clicking on the link for that provider. Now I can click on the Candidate Profile domain to find information about endorsements. Within this domain, there are 3 indicators, and the second tells me the percentage of completers with high demand endorsements. For specific endorsements, I can then click on the Show Details link and see the percentage of total completers that are within each area. We now come to the final question. How can I be sure I'm ready to enter a teaching program? If I'm not ready, how can I get there? Educator preparation providers require that students must present a qualifying score on a nationally normed assessment. This means that students must receive a 21 or higher on the ACT, a 1020 or higher on the SAT, or they must pass the Practice 1 core. Knowing your own scores, it may be useful to look at the percentage of students entering a program that have this score of 21 or higher on the ACT or 1020 or higher on the SAT. We are starting by looking at specific providers that you're interested in. When we click on their report, we go to the Candidate Profile domain. There are 3 indicators within this domain, and I can look at the first indicator, which tells me the percentage of students who scored a 21 on the ACT or had an SAT total of above 1020. If you don't meet these requirements, you can check with your guidance counselor about additional resources available for ACT and SAT preparation. So now let's take a little bit of a different approach. Let's say that instead of wanting to look at the scores for a specific education preparation provider on certain metrics, you wanted to see how all the programs did for that metric. We can do this for all questions that we've talked about today by downloading the state data file. From the main page, you click on the Download State Data link and open the file that downloads. Once you open the file, you can click on the tabs at the bottom that provide information on the metrics we've looked at. For instance, if you click on High Demand tab at the bottom of the spreadsheet, we see all the different high demand areas, and I can sort by the high demand area that I'm interested in. Alternatively, you can then click on the Diverse Institutions tab at the bottom of the spreadsheet. Here we see all the different diverse institution categories, and I can sort by the demographic I'm interested in. You can also do this for placement rate, observation scores, and TBOS. That wraps up how the report cards can answer some common questions for students considering an education preparation provider. Thanks for diving in with us today.